the NADEC Spring Conference. I want to thank you all for coming. We have some awards to give out this morning and some changes to the schedule. So the first change to the schedule is the first panels for Room A will actually be the cybersecurity panel, and in Room B we're going to move Island Nations. But we have a lot of awards to give out this morning and some other changes, some things that were not on your agenda purposefully. So I'm going to ask all NADEC board members to come up to the stage with me real quick for something that's not on your agenda. So any NADEC board members, just head on up here with me. I'd appreciate it.
Less people today.
So there's a lot more of us, but apparently the social last night took its toll on some of the NADEC board members. So these are the ones that are, really here, that are working our way through it. But no, really not in your agenda, but something that we decided to do. For those of you that don't know, our current chair, Sean Levison, in October will be termed out. And we wanted to honor him in front of all of you DEC members while we still can, because in October we will have a meeting, but it'll just be us. And we wanted you to know what he's meant to us and what he's done for all the local DECs and the NADEC as a whole. So just real quick, and I don't have any notes, so I'm just running off the top of my head. Sean will probably correct me on some things here in a minute. But, all the DECs that wanted a website, we've only had one that didn't, have been able to get a website. That was Sean's vision, that he wanted to make sure that all DECs had a presence online. If nothing else, a one-pager just gave your information. And the NADEC paid for a lot of that stuff, those one-pagers. DEC engagement was very high on his priority list. So doing the quarterly DEC meetings, if you're not attending quarterly DEC meetings for your region, please make sure you reach out to your executive team to make sure you get those invites, because they're extremely important. But he's done a lot more than just that. We did our first virtual conference last year, which was a huge undertaking. He'll tell you, countless hours spent just working through everything, and we went through 30 probably run-throughs in two days. But his leadership really has been great for us as NADEC board members. He's never said no to any of our ideas. He's kind of said, let's flesh this out a little bit, let's look at it. And a lot of great things have come to it. We've had a lot more webinars. We have our newsletter, which is getting better and better. Our communications team is doing an excellent job of that. And then you have our first in-person back after COVID event like this. And that's all due to Sean's leadership. So we want to present Sean with just a small plaque he can hang wherever he's going to be hanging, maybe around my neck after this, because he didn't know about it. But just for the last 2 years, what his leadership has really meant to us as NADEC board members, but also to you local DECs. Just want to hand this to him and tell him how much we appreciate him. So Sean, if you'll come up here and maybe not hit me while you get it.
Well, I guess I have to make a few comments after something like that. Thank you very much, all. And like Jonathan said, it's interesting because I became the chair during COVID, and this is, I believe, the first real, only national event that I've been able to do in person. So I've been, I guess, the Zoom chair or something like that. But it's been a great 2 years, and I think at this point I've probably been on the NADEC for 7 years, and I'm going to turn out of that as well. But it's been a fantastic time, and working with everyone, which it's not like I'm going to stop working with any of you. It's still something that I believe strongly in, and that I think that we're all doing the right thing by helping small companies when it comes to exporting and just getting out there and getting involved in the international trade environment. So again, I will keep it short, but thank you very much. And it wasn't on the schedule, so I didn't have like a long presentation where I could thank everybody, but really it isn't me, it's everybody here that's up here on the dais. and not those people that haven't shown up on time, even though they're on the NADEC, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so there are 10 I'm not going to thank, because those are the people that didn't deem it necessary to show up this morning. But thank you all. Again, it's been a wonderful time, and I hope that everybody continues what you're doing right now in working with your local DECs and helping promote and help companies that need our help. With that, thank you guys. Thank you.
We're going to let Sean run and grab the undersecretary so we can start the other awards, but I want to thank the DEC members, NADEC members here for their assistance through everything. So I'll let you guys go back to your seats so you're not all on stage. So yeah, so just a couple changes obviously to the schedule. I hope you all are really enjoying this. A couple other things, we're going to be posting later today some QR codes on the screens so that you can give us digital feedback on the conference. I think there's also on the table out there, if you are more a person that just wants to write it like him, I know out there at the registration table we have some of those sheets so you can leave us your feedback. But I hope you all are enjoying the conference. I can tell you the panels yesterday were amazing speakers. The networking session was amazing. I left the networking session at 6:30 and it was still busy in here. So, we're really looking forward to day 2, the end of this conference, and looking forward to next year's conference. I can tell you the wheels are already spinning on agenda items for next conference. But it's just great to have so many people here. It's great to see, Commerce and all these other organizations, XM Bank, SBA, all these federal organizations come here, be able to meet with you all. I think we had a great keynote speech yesterday. We have another one on tap today. But this morning we're really going to be focused on DEC, so Executive Secretary and DEC of the Year, and that's going to be our focus. And I'm checking my watch here to see how many more minutes I got. I feel like one of the president's assistants is going to keep talking until they're ready to come in. So, and I'm waiting for Joe to give me the one second. He's walking through the door here with the undersecretary.
Just like
no, I thank you all for coming again. Please give us your feedback. Please go ahead and mark that in May of next year, we're going to have another in-person conference. The dates are not set in stone yet, but just keep your calendars open for that. We really appreciate all the local DEC's support. We appreciate all of our sponsors, IBT Online, Cyber. There was a few local DECs. There was XM 2020 and a few other things, and now it looks like I may be getting the signal that we're ready to rock and roll. No, not just yet. So, like I said, you got to tell a bunch of stories. Yeah, so anybody have any ideas for topics for next year? Throw a hand up, let me know.
Yeah, I remember 3 years ago, our last
Yep, 3 years ago, Key Bridge. You got it.
we had a really good session on the second day of the afternoon with all the deck numbers or a person designated for each deck to just kind of talk about best practices and good stuff. So we got a lot out of that. We talked to North Carolina, Florida, and California, and some of the bigger decks. It was really, really helpful. I mean, really helpful. We found out a lot of things that a lot of them were doing, especially those that were kind of connected to port authorities and things like this. We really learned a lot about it. So I would suggest, at some point in the next step, we have maybe a 2-hour JAW section, that's what you call it, general discussion. Maybe broken down by region even. Really helpful.
Well, we'll definitely do that. And so I appreciate that. We'll definitely do that. And I know you're going to be at the 1 o'clock panel on DEC engagement orientation, I guess, in room B. I guess I know you're going to be there. But they gave me the sign. They're getting ready to come in here. So I'm going to turn things over to Sean Levison, our chair, who's going to introduce the undersecretary, and we will begin our award presentation. So please welcome Sean Levison, our chair, and the undersecretary for comments.
I am back again. Many roles, many roles. As Jonathan said, it's a morning for awards again, and I will start out by getting us rolling for the DEC of the Year Awards. First, an introduction. Marisa Lago is the Undersecretary of Commerce for International Trade. She was sworn in on December 28, 2021 to lead the federal government's efforts to assist American businesses entering or expanding into international markets, enforce fair trade policies, promote travel and tourism to the United States and U.S. products and services overseas, provide in-depth trade analyses, develop strategies that will shape the future of international trade, and engage in commercial diplomacy around the globe. With that, ladies and gentlemen, Marisa Lago.
Well, thank you, Sean. And also thanks to Jonathan Zooks, Michael Salerno, but most especially to the NADEC events team, because they're the ones who did the hard work behind a program like this. So it's a pleasure to be here with an organization that is such a valued partner to the Department of Commerce's International Trade Administration. Thank you for all that you do to raise awareness and understanding about the importance of exports to the U.S. economy. At ITA, we are deeply committed to building a more prosperous and more inclusive economy through strengthening the competitiveness of U.S. industry and workers, promoting trade and investment, and ensuring fair trade practices. It is my honor to be able to advocate on behalf of American businesses, American workers, the American people, as ITA strives to advance the Biden-Harris administration's priorities. Our work is grounded in the conviction that economic security is national security. Between the economic disruptions of COVID-19 and the rippling consequences of Russia's unjustified, unprovoked war in Ukraine, the importance of economic security is as clear today as it has ever been. This security depends on our competitiveness, which starts at home. The administration is driving crucial domestic investments that will allow us to compete and win globally. But strengthening competitiveness also means ensuring fair and open markets, expanding export opportunities, and doubling down on foreign investments into the U.S. Exports are essential to building a robust, dynamic, and equitable economy, and the data are clear. You know this. Businesses that export earn higher revenues, create more jobs, pay better wages, and are less likely to go out of business. As more U.S. businesses look to foreign markets, where over 95% of the world's consumers are, my priority is not only to grow exports, but also to expand the pool of exporters to include new and diverse businesses. But the importance of trade in today's interconnected world extends beyond jobs and prosperity. Trade is a lever that we can use to advance economic and strategic priorities and keep our nation secure, whether forging closer ties with partner nations or advancing our values through high standards. The pandemic underscored the relationship between economic and national security, especially as vulnerabilities emerged. Seemingly overnight, supply chains and semiconductors, long known to people in this room, suddenly became a topic at dinner table in the conversations over dinner around the nation. We as Americans became more and more aware of the vital role that global commerce plays in our daily lives. And I'm heartened that ITA is at the forefront of this administration's efforts to ensure resilience, dependability, and security in our supply chains. I take comfort in the knowledge that the ITA team is tackling other issues that are integral to our security, including helping to lay the foundation for America's future climate resilience. This policy frame is familiar to me from my time in municipal and state planning and economic development roles to my federal service at the Treasury Department. I've worked to promote an affirmative economic agenda to create jobs, support U.S. workers and businesses, and pursue ambitious policy aims, including on climate, high-quality standards, and equity. As Undersecretary, I strive to be a voice for U.S. businesses and workers and to partner closely with the private sector to pursue our policy agenda. The backbone of our agenda is equity. It's a core priority for the Biden-Harris administration, the Department of Commerce, Secretary Raimondo, and for me personally, it's something about which I feel so deeply. Coming from a family of immigrants, as my family's first college graduate, and as someone who too often has been the only woman in the room, from college physics classes to multi-party negotiations. I have to say I smile as I look across a room like this, seeing the wide diversity of our nation being reflected in the people here. It gives me optimism. Equity underpins absolutely everything that we do at ITA as we strive to reimagine how trade can serve all of America's people. It's not just the right policy, it's a just policy, but it also makes good economic and business sense. It is absolutely essential to economic dynamism and success. Our economy can't reach its full potential unless economic opportunity is fully shared. We have a duty to ensure that the benefits of trade are broadly felt, and this means expanding opportunity for those who have too long been underserved, including rural communities, historically underserved communities, and minority and women-owned businesses. I appreciate all that the DECs are doing to support diversity and equity in our exporting communities across our nation. Now, when Secretary Raimondo spoke to you last year, she asked you to consider equity and diversity when recommending new members for DEC appointments. We recently surveyed your executive secretaries and found that 84% of DECs had increased representation in the last year of minority-owned, woman-owned, veteran-owned, and LGBTQIA+ owned businesses. Thank you for heeding the Secretary's call. Now, a special shout out to the Iowa DEC, which nearly doubled in size this year, with the majority of new members representing businesses from diverse communities. Another shout out for the Central North Florida DEC, which created an executive committee position that is exclusively focused on identifying a diverse pool of member candidates. These are just a few examples of the vital work that you are doing to increase the efficacy and representation of DECs in all communities. Now, looking ahead, the forthcoming national export strategy is being crafted with an equity lens to ensure that trade promotion programs and strategies are designed to address the needs of companies in underserved communities. This includes helping these companies to access the knowledge, the tools, the resources, and the contacts that they need to unleash their exporting potential. The work is already underway, including through our Global Diversity Export Initiative, GDEI to those in the know, which directs trade resources and international opportunities to underserved communities. Also, ITA's Rural Export Center, which leverages both our U.S. and foreign commercial service to help rural businesses identify promising international markets. As another manifestation of ITA's focus on equity, yesterday we completed our first ever trade mission, which was focused on minority-owned businesses. It was led by our newly minted Assistant Secretary, Arun Venkatraman, and took about a dozen minority-owned businesses for stops in Italy, Spain, and Portugal. The feedback has been absolutely off the charts with a number of small businesses saying that the contacts on the first leg of the mission in Italy alone more than justified the investment of time and dollars. Now, your DEC's work will also be essential as we seek to expand export channels that support crucial local priorities none of which is as urgent as climate. As part of President Biden's ambitious commitment to tackle the climate crisis at home and abroad, ITA is doing its part to accelerate the clean technology transition. We're developing a clean technology export competitiveness strategy to strengthen our prospects in global markets, growing U.S. low-carbon sectors and exporting cutting-edge climate technology, while simultaneously creating good-paying jobs here at home. There's an immense interest in U.S. private sector climate solutions, and the ITA team is eager to support competition for sales and low-carbon projects abroad. As part of that commitment, in 2 weeks, I'm going to be leading ITA's Clean Tech Trade Mission to Indonesia and Vietnam with an onward visit to the Philippines. Then in October, ITA is going to follow up that visit with another trade mission to the Indo-Pacific region, an advanced manufacturing trade mission to Indonesia, Singapore, and Japan. And this trade mission will be held in close collaboration with the National Electrical Manufacturers Association. The application period for this mission is now open, and I would encourage you to spread the word as we seek to support U.S. competitors in this fast-growing region of the world. This is just a fraction of ITA's robust engagement in the Indo-Pacific, which also includes working with partner nations in the region to establish the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, IPEF. This is the centerpiece of the administration's economic efforts in the region. It's our strategy to deepen commercial relations, advance shared economic priorities, and ensure mutual competitiveness. Together with partner nations in the region, we're establishing a framework that aims to ensure trusted data flows and continued technological leadership, to develop resilient and secure supply chains, to advance clean energy, decarbonization, and environmental sustainability, and to promote good governance and tax policy. The framework will also improve the business environment in the region, which we know increases opportunities for U.S. exporters. As we speak, Secretary Raimondo is actually on her way to Tokyo to join the President in announcing the launch of IPEF, and we're very excited about the number of partner nations that will be part of the initial IPEF launch. Leadership at Commerce has doubled down on efforts like IPEF to re-engage with the world. This also includes strengthening international commercial ties to bolster U.S. competitiveness in trade and technology alike, and multilateral engagement is at the heart of this work. Commerce plays a key role in the U.S.-EU Trade and Technology Council, which promotes mutual competitiveness and prosperity that is grounded in our shared, market-oriented, democratic values. Earlier this week, Secretary Raimondo returned from France. She was only in the U.S., I think, for 3 days before turning around and heading out to Asia. She was in France to co-chair the US-EU TTC, Trade and Technology Council's second ministerial meeting, and to continue these efforts to advance transatlantic cooperation and democratic approaches to trade, technology, and security. Likewise, ITA is fostering closer cooperation with our Australian, Indian, and Japanese counterparts through the Quad. And we are thrilled that President Biden is participating in next week's Quad's leaders meeting in Tokyo, which is going to focus on advancing collaboration on issues like climate, infrastructure, and critical and emerging technologies. Now, at the same time, ITA continues to further nurture our valued bilateral relationship. This includes expanding and strengthening existing formats, like the high-level economic dialogue with Mexico, the U.S.-India Commercial Dialogue and CEO Forum, and the U.S.-Brazil CEO Forum. We're also shaping new opportunities like the U.S.-Japan Commercial and Industrial Partnership. Whether working bilaterally or multilaterally, ITA's global engagement is laser-focused on creating new opportunities for U.S. businesses and their workers by not only expanding exports, but also by holding accountable those who seek unfair advantages. American businesses are sharpened rather than threatened by foreign competition, provided that there are fair rules. But our businesses shouldn't have to compete against foreign governments and heavily subsidized businesses above and beyond the fierce competition of the market. Through trade and compliance monitoring, ITA's enforcement and compliance team is working to safeguard American workers, farmers, and businesses from foreign practices that undermine free and fair trade, ensuring a level playing field, a healthy domestic market, and a well-functioning international trade system. And it will come as no surprise to those in the room that our enforcement and compliance team is facing a record caseload volume. In all of our efforts, we remain deeply committed to building a more prosperous, inclusive, and equitable economy by strengthening the competitiveness of U.S. businesses and workers, promoting trade and investment, and ensuring fair trade practices in other countries. I am so energized by these challenges, but also by these opportunities. And my colleagues and I look forward to continuing our partnership with you as we tackle this important work. So, to that end, the Department of Commerce and the U.S. Trade Representative are currently recruiting advisors to serve on our 15 ITACs, the Industry and Trade Advisory Committees. They provide both policy and technical recommendations to the Secretary and to the Trade Representative across multiple sectors. And I encourage you during the break to step outside and visit our table and see if you might want to apply to serve on one of these committees, or if you think that one of the businesses that you serve, that you interact with, might be interested. So that's the view from Washington, but what's really important is to hear about some of the outstanding nominees for Tech of the Year, because it's the work that you do day in and day out that takes these policy concepts, these relationships that I've talked about, and turn them into concrete exporting opportunities. So we will learn about the work of the three finalists, and the first up is Rudy Ortiz, who is Chair Emeritus of the Arkansas Tech.
Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for your kind comments and for the enthusiasm that you have for trade and for the deck. I also want to thank U.S. Department of Commerce, ITA, and the NADEC for considering the Arkansas District Export Council for this prestigious award. I also want to thank two DEC members who happen to sit on the NADEC board, Jason Brisker and also Chuck Fisk. They are two people who have a passion for trade, practitioners, and representing the Arkansas District Export Council well in general. And I think they represent the NADEC exceptionally well. Thank you very much for your time and for your dedication to the mission. As a professional business person, educator, and economic development practitioner, I teach people that there are certain transformative actions that one can take to change the effectiveness and trajectory of their organizations. In the last 2.5 years, the Arkansas District Export Council has transformed itself in order to be the partner the U.S. Department of Commerce and ITA has always needed. a team of businesses, industry, government, and academic experts focused on helping accomplish its mission of educating and assisting exporters and potential exporters. To accomplish this, the ARDEC, the Arkansas District Export Council, is utilizing tools and processes that have improved its operation to make it more productive and efficient, and to provide continuity from ARDEC administration to administration, something that is critically important for the improvement of every DEC. I think that you know that in many cases, especially if you're using strictly volunteer help or interns, that there's this constant churning and starting and just kind of over and over and reinventing the wheel. In order to be able to have the continuity, to stabilize the organization and to be more effective and to be a better partner, the ARDEC is utilizing tools and processes that have improved its operation to make it more productive and efficient and to provide the continuity that I mentioned. Some of these tools are using a permanent part-time person rather than utilizing college interns. This allows us the continuity and maintains institutional knowledge that is so important and which has increased our effectiveness and efficiency. Our success, I believe, has inspired the NADEC to adopt our model, and not only our model, but also our administrative coordinator as well. So she now works for the ARDEC after the NADEC and has done a fabulous job. We've updated our methods of holding meetings. Whenever possible, we hold hybrid meetings so that members may attend virtually wherever they may be. We're using technology, including software and website applications, to provide members and the general exporting public access to vast amounts of trade-related resources that will help them make informed decisions. In addition, we're using technology to make the day-to-day running of the ARDEC more professional and efficient with less duplication of work, effort, and expense. In the areas of education, a key tool utilized by the ARDEC is the expansion of several educational webinars that we have. We have a minimum of 8 webinars per year, and which is about 1 every 6 weeks. And we also have monthly trade chats. We saw and also acquired $20,000 in funding from the state's Economic Development Commission to allow us to put on these webinars for free. These webinars cover the areas of international marketing and market research, regulatory compliance issues, finance, logistics, contract considerations, supply chain management, also country-specific webinars, and a general knowledge training that we call Grow Your Exports for those who are less experienced exporters. We seek by this education to eliminate or to minimize the fear factor of new exporters and open up knowledge and opportunities for those who already export as well. We're in the process of negotiating for additional funds through the government, state of Arkansas, to increase our outreach efforts, to actually double our outreach efforts. Prior to the pandemic, we conducted in-person seminars in various cities in Arkansas. These were held at universities, chambers of commerce, and other venues. But unfortunately, they were not particularly effective. We very often had less than 10 people attend our seminars. But in 2020, due to COVID, as in-person meetings were restricted, we pivoted to virtual meetings. And these webinars also, along with substantial marketing campaigns, which were facilitated by utilizing Heidi, our permanent administrative coordinator, allow us to increase our export training programs from attendance and registration from an average of 6 per seminar to 80 to 120 registrants on our webinars. A significant increase. And once again, further fulfilling the mission of the DEC to do outreach work, to be able to help the various exporters and potential exporters to gain the knowledge they need to be able to export and increase the wealth of the United States. I think everyone in this room knows that wealth is created by bringing it from somewhere else. That's the beauty of exporting, right? We found that the online webinars were far more convenient for our participants, as well as allowing us to obtain speakers who were located in other cities and even other countries. People who are really, really expert in their areas, because we have a much, much larger pool of speakers. We marketed this webinar via direct mail and social media, and asked our colleagues at various economic development commissions and organizations to help us spread the word. We have significant and integrated partnerships with the Small Business Administration, the Small Business Development Centers, the Arkansas World Trade Center, the Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce, and the Arkansas Procurement Technical Assistance Center. You know, we are all joined at the hip, and we have meetings where we discuss the yearly webinars, seminars, activities that we're going to have, and collaborate with each other in a very integrated fashion. Every year, we have historically since 2010 put on what's called the Governor's Awards for Excellence in Global Trade. And if, how much more time do I have? Okay, I'm over my goal. Needless to say, every DEC I think suffered from a lack of funds during 2020 and 2021. We were very fortunate in being able to acquire funding from the Economic Development Commission to continue our operations and actually expand our operations. In any case, every DEC in the country is doing the best that it can. We have some, I know, wonderful candidates, but we appreciate you considering the Arkansas District Export Council for the effort that it has made, for the innovation it has brought to increase the efficacy and outreach of export training to the general exporting world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rudy. I could have listened to you for an hour. You clearly are a skilled educator. I also hope that you share my view that the highest compliment is when a skilled member of your team, like Heidi, gets poached by someone else for a larger role. I also want to double down on the point that you made about the importance of continuity across administrations. I'm here obviously as a political appointee, but the strength of the Department of Commerce of ITA are the incredible career staff who operate with a level of expertise and professionalism, regardless of the few of us who are the political appointees. They truly are the best. So now I am going to welcome Eric Butler, who is the Executive Secretary of the Louisiana DEC and another finalist.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much, Madam Undersecretary. We had the pleasure of meeting in Dubai at TradeWinds, our first big in-person event. There were a number of people in this room who were there, and it was so gratifying to all join together toward the goal of increasing U.S. exports. So I'm here representing the Louisiana DEC, but I'm not alone in doing that. My colleague and Vice Chair, Brenda Stalley, who's also very active on the National DEC, is here. There she is. Hi, Brenda. Huge thanks to Brenda, who, because of her engagement both in Louisiana and nationally, is just a tremendous force multiplier for us. We would not be able to do any of these things that I'm about to talk about without Brenda. So I too could go on for a long time about the DEC because I'm so proud of the work we've done together, but I will endeavor to be disciplined. So yeah, Marissa, feel free to pull me away if I overrun. So So this nomination really focuses on two things. The first is our Trade Talk series. The second is our export boot camps. Trade Talks, similar to what Rudy was talking about, we too kind of looked at each other a couple months into the pandemic and said, we realized that we needed to take down our very busy calendar of in-person programming. The Louisiana DEC has always been a very program-centric DEC. And so the question then, of course, was, well, what do we do? How do we stay connected? How do we continue to add value? How can we bring kind of clarity and value in a time that was really frightening and chaotic? And so what we hit upon was a monthly series that we call Trade Talks. They differ from our normal tactical kind of market, industry, issue-specific programming because they were higher level, they were more policy, big picture focused, and they also drew speakers from all around the country. So with the help of a lot of DEC member engagement, DEC members helped to identify speakers, to recruit speakers, to promote the event. We convened 8 Trade Talks, which drew 320 people from 22 states, 10 countries, and 4 continents. They also generated sponsorship, which helped to support our other programming. You know, one thing that I was really proud of with Trade Talks is half of our speakers were diverse, women or minorities. And although Trade Talks and the Export Boot Camp served different populations, one thing they really had in common was they were both driven by our desire to be representative of and relevant to the whole diversity of the Louisiana international business community. We wanted people to see themselves in the speakers. We wanted people to see themselves in the subject matter experts. And as you all know, not all trade programming looks like that. So we were really proud of what we managed to achieve. Some of our speakers for Trade Talks were USTR, the Federal Reserve, Development Finance Corps, our senior senator, Cassidy, the Port of New Orleans. So overall, Trade Talks is a series that we've decided to continue post-pandemic, although we are beginning to convene in person. We'll continue that virtual series. The other the other program that I'll talk about is our Export Boot Camp series, which, unlike Trade Talks, was really focused on kind of the newer to export startups, disadvantaged companies, rural companies. And that was convened in partnership with our state economic development agency, Louisiana Economic Development, who generously provided a $20,000 grant for us to be able to convene those sessions at no cost. We relied heavily on our DEC members to be speakers, subject matter experts. Over the course of 6 sessions, which we convened each one in partnership with a different regional economic development office, so we were able to tailor the programming for rural Northeast Louisiana, or kind of the energy belt of Southwest Louisiana. We drew 138 Louisiana companies, 45% of whom were women-owned or led. 13 different DEC members presented. And the Louisiana Economic Development was so pleased with the session that they have kind of doubled down. We're doing another series of 6 this year with $25,000 in funding to help support the promotion and convening of those events. So really, both of these programs served our missions of equity and inclusion, kind of DEC member engagement, and the funds generated are supporting our internship program, which we feel strongly that by offering a stipend to our interns, it enables us to recruit a more diverse cohort of interns. It helps our student interns to better balance paid work with the professional development work that they're getting with us. And it's really helped us to kind of cement our place in the trade ecosystem of Louisiana as thought leaders and as people who are committed to bringing all of Louisiana businesses into the trade landscape. So with that, I'll turn it back to the Madam Undersecretary. Thank you so much.
Wow. I am struck both in your presentation and in Rudy's in the way you've seized technology and realized that as the future of work is changing, there are clearly downsides. I mean, how happy are we to be able to be in a room and see each other, but that there is also the opportunity to reach, in particular, small businesses who might not have the luxury of taking 2 hours in the middle of the day to get to a meeting or giving up time in the evening with their families. So I like the way both of you have seen an opportunity. I'm also struck, I'm a native New Yorker, and as a native New Yorker, that refers only to New York City, which is a global city. But in many ways, Louisiana, with its unique cultural background and with New Orleans as such a global city, you're another global center, and so glad to see that you tapped into that. Finally, I was just blown away by the makeup of the speakers that you have. In addition to the subject matter that is being presented, who is delivering the message matters. We used to say that it was important to have a seat at the table. I think that thanks to Lin-Manuel Miranda, we now talk about being in the room where it happened, in the Zoom where it happened. And so thank you for recognizing this. The final comment that I would make is the importance of internships and paid internships, because there is a cadre of folks, including first-generation college learners, for whom the notion of an unpaid internship just isn't a reality. I have been proud in organizations that I've led to move from unpaid internships to better paid internships, or for internships that bear college credit, because that is another way of allowing the next generation to get this rich work experience without having to make the trade-off of having to have a paid job to support oneself and one family. So thank you. And with that, we will turn to the last of our finalists, Susan Whitmer from the New Jersey Tech. You've got hard acts to follow.
Just stole the line I was going to use. It's so difficult to follow here in Arkansas. So thank you so much for having us here today, and the NADEC for sponsoring this and supporting the DECs. It's really a tremendous organization with such wonderful groups across the country. So I'll try to highlight some of the things. First, I just want to say a couple words just to thank the New Jersey DEC for all of the work and effort and inspiration they provide. They're really a fantastic group. I want to say thank you to Sally Glick, who's the chair of the DEC. She's unable to attend today, and also Chris Almonte and Michelle Wooters, who are part of the executive DEC. But I do want to do a shout out to the wonderful two DEC members that are here today. Kevin Burgess from Rutgers Pratt, who's here, and also Suzanne Lepore from Specs and Antilia Scientific Company. So thanks so much for being here. It truly takes a team effort, and I'm going to just highlight a couple things just to go over some of our accomplishments that I'm super proud of. One is that we were able to pull off an international trade and business development focus as that webinar focusing on the underserved community. We really had a great registration turnout with over 155 registrants, and I think it provided just a great platform for the commercial service, the DEC, SBA, SBDCs, the state, everyone to kind of get together and do focused outreach. So we're super proud of that. We've also done a strategic retreat, which enabled us to really set aside some time to put into place some SWOT analysis to really dig into the strengths and weaknesses of our DEC. As a lot of people in this audience know, each DEC has kind of a different flavor, a different way that they work, different state, different partners. So it really enabled us to focus in on where our weaknesses were, where our strengths were, and kind of create some new committees and structures and roles and responsibilities to help move forward into the future. We also instituted, and we like to say we pivoted during the pandemic, and instituted a monthly call for just internal DEC conversation, which was a nice way of kind of informally having a platform for DEC members to talk about things like congestion, supply chain, and all those things that were coming up. And it was a little bit of a looser, nice way to have a conversation as opposed to the quarterly meetings that are a little bit more structured with agendas and such. So that I think we are continuing to do, and I think that the members are really enjoying that. Our website is something that we're super proud of. We have a renewed website. I do want to do a shout out to Bob Earlman, who like rocks it. Our calendar is something that is a little different, I think, from most, so I'll just make a comment about it. But we really try to put a lot of programming that's happening in New Jersey on that calendar. But with the pandemic, then we included webinars from across the nation. But once a week, that all that information is pushed out to our registrants. So we have about 2,500 or more emails, and that information is sent out weekly so that everyone knows exactly what's happening throughout the country and can again tap into those kind of programming and resources. Sorry, I need the glasses because we've done about 17 programs throughout the year, and those are ones that we've hosted or worked with organizations throughout New Jersey. So it was very dynamic year where we did a lot. We're super proud of that. We have a Women in International Trade quarterly roundtable that we do that is just so dynamic and wonderful to get a group of women together from the New Jersey business community and have a conversation about topics and issues that really affect them. So that's something that we're super proud of. And we have a scholarship program as well, where we give back and we provide scholarship to a student who's attending a New Jersey institution. So we're happy we had kind of a year off of the pandemic, so we're super happy to kind of reinstate that. And lastly, and really importantly, I think one of our focuses for the last couple of years has been alliance building. I'm sure it's true for many other decks that you have to rely very closely upon a lot of the organizations within your ecosystem. So we've done outreach and really tried to collaborate and form more formal alliances with whether they're chambers or associations or all those types of groups that have synergies with us, right? Not competing with us because we have a very niche, great spot to fill, but those organizations that can really work together to kind of get the word out. So we in New Jersey this past year have exported almost 50 billion of merchandise, so I'm going to throw that out there. And we're super proud and we hope to continue that growth. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Susan. I love your comment about each deck having a different flavor, and that's why you are so important to us, because you reflect the flavors of the diversity of our business communities. Thank you also for mentioning the website. I think it's important that we reach our businesses where they are. I know that in my prior job, the smartest hire I ever made was a 20-something heavily tattooed with green hair who was a new media communicator and was able to reach out to a demographic very different from the rest of us. So always that's another way of seizing technology. And I was also struck by your focus on a scholarship focused on local institutions, investing in the next generation, tapping into and seizing the mind space of someone who might not have thought about a career in trade is a great opportunity. And certainly from a recruitment point of view, I have found that if one goes to state institutions, to community colleges, that is a great way of being able to attract a more diverse workforce. So these presentations represent just the tip of the iceberg of what it is that the decks do and why your work is inspiring to us at the Department of Commerce. But now is the time to congratulate the winner. I think we should have a drum roll. And the winner is Louisiana. We're forward of the incredible contributions made by each of the finalists, but when we look at the categories of company outreach, innovation, and strategic management, you just blew out the lights. With respect to company outreach, you held the Trade Talks event, and you mentioned 22 different states, 4 continents. That truly is global reach. In the category of innovation, the reviewers noted the collaborative nature of your program development, in which you brought in your economic development office, the state partners. And the reviewers were also impressed by how equity and inclusion were just baked into what you did. It wasn't an add-on, it was at the core. And then in the category of strategic planning, you saw the deck as a key player in its community that cooperated with partners rather than being seen as a competitor. And so with that, congratulations. Okay, and I am now going to turn the program back to Sean for the presentation of the Executive Secretary of the Year.
I am back, and thank you. First of all, let's go ahead and have all the executive secretaries in the room stand up. Executive secretary stand up. There we go. Because we know that without executive secretaries, the decks wouldn't be nearly as effective as they are. The executive secretaries are the glue that holds everything together. They help with organization, they help with guidance, and certainly they help keep 25 to 35 disparate business people in line when they come up with all kinds of cockamamie ideas. So thank you to all the executive secretaries for the work that you do in supporting the 61 decks around the country. And as I was sitting there, I was thinking about it. Although she's not here today, I suppose you could say Laura Barmby is our NADEC executive secretary. I suppose she doesn't technically get qualified as that, but certainly she's ours, and we thank her from the NADEC level because dealing with Laura now for, it has to have been maybe 5 or 6 years, she has certainly kept the NADEC in line with our own cockamamie ideas at the national level. So we do have 3 finalists for today's Executive Secretary of the Year Award. And I will ask them to stand up. First, we have John Holman from Hawaii. Is he in the room? He is not. Then we will go with Heather Rank of North Dakota. I apologize. And we also have Jessica Gordon from North Texas. And what I'd like to do is read a little bit from each of the nominations and the packets that were submitted. And the first for John Holman. In the 13 years since he took over, John's office has broken records for performance of this office. The win and export success totals exceed $1.92 billion, a key return on investment. In 2022, and just starting into the second quarter, the number of clients counseled exceeded the annual goal by 106%. New clients exceeded 520%, and the office is currently at 86% of wins for the year to date. So John Holman, we'll go ahead and give him. And Jessica Gordon, from her nomination packet. A program she was instrumental in developing was our export education training series. The program was offered free of charge to the North Texas business community and offered a comprehensive overview of the exporting process through 3 different online sessions. As with the Exporting with Exports program, Jessica coordinated expert speakers to cover various topics in the program. She also continued to represent North Texas DEC in 2022 with her participation in the Discover Global Markets and Trade events through the year, spending time in both Morocco and Dubai to help companies make business connections in new markets and expand exports. Thank you. And from Heather's pack. In the last year, she has been developing and promoting the Rural Export Initiative. She has spearheaded the development of RAISE, Rural America's Intelligence Service for Exporters. The program began in North Dakota and Minnesota and has led to rural development activities nationwide. The program has led 20 website globalization reviews and 57 seminars promoting export among rural communities and companies. And with that, I am pleased to announce this year's Executive Secretary of the Year, Heather Rank of Northern.
I'm not too prepared, but Rural Export Center grew out of working with companies. And that's what we get to do as executive secretaries, is work with the cream of the crop of exporters in our areas. And that's you. You're the cream of the crop of the DEC members nationally. So the Rural Export Center grew out of DEC members seeing a vision, a cockamamie idea that took wings, and we got a lot of support from Department of Commerce and our congressional delegation, who even appropriated funds for us to establish a national rural export center. So the DEC was critical in that and has continued to be, and that you make things happen. That's what makes the DEC amazing. So it's the pleasure of my work, my day-to-day work, is to work with exporters every day and take all those cockamamie ideas and bring them to reality. Thank you.
That ends the award portion of our morning. Sorry, no more to give out. If you stick around till 5 today, you might be able to see more awards, although I understand it's Friday afternoon. With that, we will go ahead and take a break, and we will resume in 15 minutes. Thank you very much.